May 1945, Germany. An American soldier's dog tag had been stolen, not by the enemy, by a German civilian during the chaos of the retreat. Someone had taken it from a fallen soldier, kept it. The soldier's family had received the notification, missing in action. No confirmed location, no confirmed death, just silence. 3 months passed. Then a woman appeared at an American checkpoint. She was on foot. She had been walking for 2 days. She asked for the commanding officer. The soldiers at the checkpoint looked at her. She was in her 50s. Her shoes had worn through on the left foot. She had wrapped that foot in cloth. She had something in her hand. A dog tag. She held it out. "I found this," she said in German. "I know who took it. It was wrong. I walked here to give it back." The soldier at the checkpoint took the tag. He looked at the name on it. He looked at the woman. He picked up the radio. The report reached Patton 3 weeks later. He read it. He set it down. Then he picked up a pen. What he wrote took 2 minutes. And when the soldier's family received what Patton had sent them, along with the dog tag, they kept it for the rest of their lives. Before we get into what happened next, if you want more untold stories from World War II, hit that subscribe button. It was May 1945. Germany had surrendered 3 weeks earlier, and the occupation had begun. Across the country, the aftermath of 6 years of war was settling into something that had no good word for it. Not peace, exactly. Peace implies a return to something that existed before. What was settling over Germany in May of 1945 was more like the silence after a very loud noise, everything still vibrating, roads damaged, supply lines broken, families missing members who were not coming back, nothing restored. In the middle of that, a woman named Elsa Hartmann was walking. She was 54 years old, from a village called Brücken in the Saarland, a small farming community that had been passed between German and French control so many times over the previous century that most of its residents had stopped being surprised by soldiers of any kind. Elsa had grown up there, married there, raised 2 sons there. One of them had died on the Eastern Front. In the winter of 1943, she had received the telegram on a Thursday. The other son had come home the previous autumn missing 2 fingers from his right hand, and not willing to talk about how he had lost them. She was not a remarkable woman in any particular sense. She kept a house, she kept a garden, and she had done both through the war years with the particular stubbornness of someone who has decided that the ordinary things are worth maintaining regardless of what is happening around them. The ordinary things were what you had when everything else was taken, and she had learned not to let go of them. What she was doing in May of 1945 was walking 40 miles because of a dog tag. The tag had come into her possession in a way she found shameful. During the retreat of German forces through her village in the spring, her neighbor, a man she had known for 30 years, had taken the tag from an American soldier who had been killed at the edge of the village, not for any particular reason, not for intelligence value or practical use, the way people sometimes take things during chaos because they can, and because nothing makes sense and the taking seems to make as much sense as anything else. Elsa had seen him do it. She had not said anything at the time. She had been frightened, and the soldier was already dead, and nothing she said would have helped him. But she thought about it afterward. She thought about it for weeks. The American soldier had a name on that tag. He had a family somewhere. Mother, probably. Maybe a wife. People who had been told he was missing and who had received nothing since. And the tag was in her neighbor's drawer. She went to him one evening after dinner, when she had decided she was going to do this regardless of what he said. She asked for the tag. She told him what she intended to do with it. He gave it to her without much argument. He had regretted taking it almost immediately and had no idea what to do with the regret. Her asking for it was a kind of relief. She sat with the tag in her kitchen for an evening. Private First Class Thomas Wheeler. She said the name out loud once, the way you do with names in a foreign language to feel the shape of them. Serial number, blood type, religion. Somewhere in America, people who had once known the whole person behind these details were waiting for information. She had the tag. It should be with them. She decided she was going to return it. The nearest American checkpoint was 40 miles away. She had no vehicle and knew no one who did. The roads were damaged and crowded with the movement of the occupation. She was 54 years old. Her left foot had been giving her trouble since February, and the shoes she owned were not made for this kind of distance. She left on a Monday morning before the sun came up, while the village was still quiet. The roads were difficult. Traffic from the occupation moved in both directions, and she stayed to the edge. Her left foot hurt from the first hour. She stopped twice to rewrap it. She arrived at the American checkpoint on Wednesday afternoon. The soldier on duty, Private Leonard Shaw, saw her approaching from down the road. He had her step back from the barrier. She didn't argue. She reached into her coat and held out the dog tag. Shaw took it. He turned it over. He read the name. He looked at her foot, wrapped in cloth. He looked at her face. Through a combination of broken German and gestures and a small dictionary that one of the other soldiers had, she explained where the tag had come from, and how she had come to have it, and why she had walked here. All of it. She did not leave anything out. Shaw listened. Then he called Sergeant Michael Cross. Cross listened to the same explanation and wrote it down. He took Elsa Hartmann's name and her village and the name of the neighbor who had taken the tag in the first place. She offered this without being asked, as if accountability was part of the point. Cross arranged transport back to her village that same day. It seemed wrong to make her walk back. He filed the report that evening. He wrote it carefully and included every detail she had given him, including the neighbor's name. It moved through the chain. 3 weeks later, it reached Patton's headquarters. His aide, Colonel Thomas Reed, placed it on the desk with a note, "Worth your attention." Patton read it that morning during his regular review of incoming reports. He read it twice. He set it down. He sat with it for a moment, the way he sat with certain things, still, focused, not yet moving. Then he picked up his pen and wrote 2 things without summoning Reed or consulting anyone. The first was a letter to the family of Private First Class Thomas Wheeler, his parents, as it turned out, in Dayton, Ohio. The letter explained that a German woman named Elsa Hartmann had walked 40 miles through occupied Germany to return their son's dog tag, that she had done it because she believed it was wrong, that they didn't have it, that the tag was being sent to them under separate cover. That General Patton wanted them to know what she had done and how far she had walked to do it. The second was a letter to Elsa Hartmann at her address in Brücken, which Cross had included in his report. It was short. Patton was not a man who used many words when fewer would do. It said that the tag had been received and would be returned to the family of Private First Class Thomas Wheeler, that the family had been told what she had done and how far she had walked to do it, that this army recognized the difference between the action of one man during the chaos of a retreat and the decision of a woman to walk 40 miles to correct what that man had done. It was signed by Patton, not by a staff officer on his behalf, by Patton. The Wheeler family received the dog tag and the letter in the same package, delivered by the Army's mail system to their home in Dayton. Thomas Wheeler's mother, Ruth, kept both on the mantelpiece in the living room of her house in Dayton, not in a drawer, not in a box, on the mantelpiece, where she could see them. She kept them there for the rest of her life. She wrote to Elsa Hartmann in 1947, after spending 2 years learning enough German to compose a short letter. She had help from a teacher at the local high school. Elsa wrote back. Her letter was also short because her English was learned from a dictionary, and she was careful with words she wasn't certain of. They exchanged letters for 9 years, about ordinary things mostly. The garden, the weather, their families, the slow work of rebuilding normal life after the war, until Ruth Wheeler died in 1956. Elsa Hartmann lived until 1971. She kept Ruth's letters in a wooden box that her remaining son found when he cleared her house. He didn't read them. He didn't feel it was his place to read his mother's letters to a woman in Ohio she had never met. He gave the box to the local historical society, who cataloged and archived it. The correspondence is still there, in a folder in a regional archive in the worst year of his life, Saarland. Anyone who asks can read it. Patton never spoke publicly about the Hartmann case. He received a brief note from Reed a week later, confirming that both letters had been delivered and the dog tag forwarded. He read the note and said nothing. He had already done what he intended to do. Colonel Reed spoke about it once, when asked whether Patton ever did things that weren't about the war. He was always about the war, Reed said. Everything connected back to it. Strategy, command, logistics, soldiers, the enemy, it all connected. He paused. But sometimes he read something and he just responded to it as a person, not as a general making a decision, as a person who had read something that deserved a response. A woman walked 40 miles to return a dog tag because she thought it was wrong that she had it. He read that, and he wrote 2 letters, one to the family and one to her. He paused again. That's all there was to it. 2 letters. But I've thought about those 2 letters more than I've thought about most of the battles I watched him plan. Was Patton right to respond personally? Was Elsa Hartmann's walk 40 miles, the kind of thing that deserved acknowledgement? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories about World War II and the people who lived through it on every side, make sure to subscribe.